This lesson is on multiplying by powers of 10. And in order to do this, we are going to make use of this amazingly fantastic graphic. And if you can understand how this graphic is and how it works, then you're going to be able to answer these questions so easily. So ideally, when you do your homework later, you will have this at your desk while you do your questions. What I mean by that is sometimes when we finish our lessons, you tuck away the lesson and you just work on the assignment. Well, you won't be able to do that with this assignment. You should have this sheet out with you while you do your work so you can refer to this chart. Because this chart is everything when it comes to these questions. We're not actually going to be doing calculations in these questions. We are going to be consulting this chart to figure out how many spaces we move the decimal and whether we go left or right. And you'll see in these questions here today, we are multiplying by powers of 10, hence the lesson name. And the powers of 10 are 1,000, 100, 1/10,000th, and 1/10. And each of those is going to mean that we do something a little different. And obviously, 1,000 and 100 are both bigger than 1. 1/10,000th and 1/10th are both less than 1. So there's something very different that we do for numbers bigger than 1 and less than 1. Let's take a look at a chart. We see that the numbers bigger than 1 are on the right side, and the numbers bigger than 1 are making the number bigger. When you multiply by 100, for example, you're going to be getting a bigger number. Like 2 times 100 is 200. 200 is bigger than 2. So when you're multiplying by a power of 10 bigger than 1, you're going to be making the number bigger. And you're going to be moving the decimal to the right. So if you're multiplying by 10, you're going to move over right 1 spot. If you're multiplying by 100, you're going to move right 2 spots. If you're multiplying by 1,000, you're going to move to the right 3 spots. If you are multiplying by 10,000, you are going to move to the right 4 spots. If you're multiplying by 100,000, you're going to move to the right 5 spots. So let's do the first 2 questions. We have 21 times 1,000. So according to that chart, 1,000 means we move to the right 3 spots. So if we go back to 21, now 21 does not have a visible decimal. And yet the decimal is at the end of the number. So if we put a decimal right here, then we move it 3 spots to the right. So 1, 2, 3. Now the decimal is going to go right here, and we're going to plunk placeholder zeros in its place. And the answer is 21,000. Then if we multiply 0 and 3/1000ths by 100, if we consult the chart up here, when we see 100, we're going to go right 2. So we are going to take the decimal, and I'm just going to rewrite out the number, we're going to take that decimal and we're going to move it right 1, right 2, and it's going to end up right there. So right 1, right 2, and the decimal ends up right there. Now, because I now have 2 decimals in this one number, which looks goofy, we can rewrite it out as just 0, 1, 0, decimal 3. Now, what do we do when the numbers are less than 1? Well, we see right here that if we are multiplying by 1/10, we're going to move left 1. If we're multiplying by 100th, we're going to move left 2. If we're multiplying by 1,000th, we're going to move left 3. If we're multiplying by 1/10,000th, we're going to move left 4. And if we're multiplying by 100,000th, we're going to go left 5 decimal places. So now, we're going to take a look at this. We are going to move the decimal, because this is 1/10,000th, 4 decimal places to the left. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4. Decimal goes here, and we'll put a placeholder 0 here because it's a whole space. And we do have to put 1 in front of the decimal. So if we rewrite that decimal out, it's going to be 0.0184776, and that's what that number becomes. And we have one last question to do, and here we're multiplying by 1/10. So if we consult our handy dandy chart up here, we see 1/10 right here, and when we multiply by 1/10, it means we're moving left 1 spot with the decimal. So now we're going to take 0.9 or 9/10, however you want to say it, and we're going to move that decimal 1 spot to the left. Going to put it here, have to put a 0 first. So if we rewrite it out, it's going to be 0.09. I strongly encourage that when you write these out, you have your working number here with your original decimal and your new decimal. Make sure there's arrows so that you can keep it straight which is which. But then you do have to rewrite it out because there's no such thing as a number that has 2 different decimals in it. So rewrite it out in a more cleaned up way so it's easy for me to read it.